Morning all, welcome to another week with Pete. It's an average Monday morning, but I just thought I'd do a quick video just to be able to discuss some of the topics that come out of social media and also traditional media last week. I thought I'd be stagnant and do a video today. I got in trouble off the old lady a couple of weeks ago for doing a video while driving, so therefore you are never too old to get in trouble off the old lady. Some really good advice there, Mum. You don't want to be dodging traffic and doing a video at the same time. I also got in trouble off my niece as well for not using my Ninja pen, so there you go, Gabby. I'm using the pen today. The social media basically blew up last week in regards to a 60-minute episode in respect to bricks and slaughter. Great term, nice and catchy, but the reality is that it's all bullshit. And the reason for that is Sydney is a global city. We are attracting professional migrants to this country. And if you take that into consideration, especially when it comes to overall professional industries, in the next year and a half, there will be over 400,000 people living in Sydney alone. Melbourne is actually be a lot higher than that. So if we take in respect the amount of infrastructure that's going on at the moment, we can't actually build houses fast enough to be able to justify the increase in population. There are other things that we need to take into account as well, is that the marketplace is counter-cyclical. So whatever goes up must come down. There will be some form of mortgage stress within the next couple of years. There has to be. But what we need to take into consideration is that if we are the type of investor that is purchasing on cash flow, then it doesn't matter whether there is movements within the marketplace because we are generating passive income. So there isn't necessarily mortgage stress because we are making a profit. If you're the type of investor that bought at a loss or negative gearing, then there's a need for negative gearing, especially if you're on a massive income. You do want to bring down your marginal tax rate. But if you've purchased a negatively geared property and you also have achieved, well, not necessarily achieved, but if you've gained negative equity, then not only is your property declining in value, but you also have a loss in respect to the income. Now, that's when it becomes a bit of an issue for some of the investors that are out there. If you've purchased a property that's positive cash flow, then you're able to weather the storm. The other thing that we're sort of noticing as well is that if we deal with a lot of investors that have a lot of equity, and in the last sort of 8 years, if you take into account the guy that bought a unit, for example, him and his wife, let's say this is a live example, they purchased a unit in Pyrmont for $500,000. That property in 2015 was now worth approximately $1 million. They upgraded to Bondi. They've obviously achieved a lot of equity within Bondi as well. So that type of person now being converted into an investor, they have a lot of liquidity. They have a lot of equity that they can actually utilize. So those investors that are out there at the moment are essentially just sort of sitting back and waiting for the lower end of the market to essentially suffer slightly. And I know that sounds really difficult, but if you're a first home buyer and you've purchased a property, in the western suburbs of Sydney for $900,000 and you've used a very small deposit, say 5 or 10%. Now, if interest rates go up or the marketplace does decline slightly, then, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if the husband lost their job or the wife got pregnant, there's going to be mortgage stress. So therefore, those mortgagees and possessions will essentially come up on the market. And I think in a very indirect way, that's what a lot of the social media and the traditional media, especially the likes of fake news, unfortunately, to use a president term, of 60 Minutes was actually discussing. But the thing is that, as I mentioned a moment ago, the market is counter-cyclical. So if that type of supply does come up on the market, investors will essentially jump on that. And if you've purchased a property, let's say 3 years ago at 900,000, and you're getting $600 a week in rent, it's around about a 3.5% yield, if my math serves me correctly. Please comment if that's not the case. But if we then purchase that property that has achieved a bit of mortgage stress now, and they've had to sell it because of circumstances, and that property now has declined in value at 800,000 because they had to sell it, it was a fire sale, they're still getting $600 a week in rent. Hypothetically speaking, if I'm looking at it from an investment perspective, my yield now is probably around 4%. So if I'm borrowing money at 4% and the investment property is now giving me a 4% yield, that's neutral. So therefore, Sydney starts to look a little bit more attractive. We don't have any more foreign investors. The foreign investors are gone. First home buyers obviously are achieving essentially that stress in respect to the marketplace where there's a little bit of uncertainty. So there's no foreign investors, there's no first home buyers, there's only investors. So those types of opportunities that do come up on the market will basically just be taken up by the investors that have achieved a lot of equity in the last 3-4 years, or just professional investors that we chat to that are essentially just sitting back and waiting for the marketplace to decline slightly within the Sydney marketplace. So therefore, those investments look a lot more attractive, which is one of the main reasons why a lot of investors in the last year or so have considered options such as Brisbane and some parts of Melbourne, because the cost of entry is a lot cheaper and the rents are a lot higher. So therefore, the yields are a lot more attractive, which is the whole point that I was making earlier in regards to cash flow. So if I'm purchasing at cash flow, I can weather the storm. Brisbane at the moment, the trajectory is obviously increasing in value. If Sydney becomes too expensive, people move to Melbourne. If Melbourne becomes too expensive, they move to Brisbane. So that's very much where the population is at the moment. So let's say, for example, we achieve reasonable capital growth in certain parts of Brisbane. We pull out our 80% equity, and then we reinvest it back into Sydney, because by that stage it would have softened just maybe a little bit more. So therefore it becomes even more attractive because we're in a better financial position because we've been able to achieve equity elsewhere. So if this is the type of stuff that basically sort of resonates to you as a person or to an investor, we are going to be chatting about it tomorrow evening, 6:15 at the Bella Vista Hotel, and then again on Thursday in Wollongong, in the North Wollongong Hotel. Jump online, grab some tickets. Tickets are $10, but if you send us a private message, we will be able to send you the tickets for free. So by all means, jump on the website, smartertenant.com.au/income, and we hope to see you there. Have a great week and have fun. If you need the advice, don't forget to reach out. Have a great day. Thank you.